말고 하나 더 하고 있었잖아. 그치. 그거는 안.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget. I use them all to push me to my best. So treat the worst of times just like a test. If only I could go back in time, I'd tell myself that everything will end up alright. Just push yourself, test yourself, figure out what you like, and find your limits, don't be rigid, always work towards a prime. Surround yourself with open minds, people can change your life. A few friends with intent can help you feel alive. Find a passion, take some action, and with a little time, just be patient, make a statement, try to enjoy your life. They'll try to kick you while you're down. They wanna rise up while you drown. They wanna fill your head with doubt. They're silently scared that you'll figure it out. I'll make it look like I'm losing, won't bother hiding my bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded, then it's your chance to be ruthless. Make some progress, I can see that they compare. I think everyone's against me, maybe something in the air. Am I paranoid? I swear a void is forming and they're scared. I walk a straight path, not many can say that. I like to play fast, cross me and there's.
이 얘기를 하고 싶은데 정국이가 초반 일주일 첫 주 때 그때 없었던 사람들 있죠. 진영 없어, 호비 없어.
내가 아마 파리에 있었을 거예요.
그래서 정국이가 방에 약간 안 들어가고 밖에 있고 얘가 낯 가리고 아무것도 안 하는 거예요, 그냥. 그래서 우리 둘이 얘를 방에 밀어넣으려고 했던 거 기억나? 종아 가서 좀 불러. 너는 부르면 애들이 좋아할 텐데. 할 때 초반에.
맞아.
정국이가 낯이 많이 바뀐 거고 처음에는 얘가 그냥 이러고 있다가 나와서 뭐 먹고 있고.
옛날 15살의 그 모습.
Better pray that I don't see your face at any place that I go. I know you hate that. I've been doing fine. I'm not wasting any more time. I live for the fight and the climb. And I think that
이게
민망하니까
사실
the pain that's deep inside is what defines. So I won't give up, I'm gonna make it to the top. I don't care what's in my way, I swear I'm never gonna stop. I could fall flat on my face and I swear I will get back up. Cause I don't deserve a thing and the road ahead is tough. They'll try to kick you while you're down. They wanna rise up.
그래서 이제 한 2주 지나고
그때부터는 너 완전 그냥 막 결국
박자를 이거를 이렇게 하지 말고 이렇게 쪼개야 돼.
While you drown, they wanna fill your head with doubt. They're silently scared that you'll figure it out.
결국에는
마이크 줘봐.
결국에는
I'll make it look like I'm losing. Won't bother hiding my
마이크 줘봐. 마이크 줘봐.
결국에는
bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded, then it's your chance to be.
오늘 우리 얘기하잖아요. 예?
결국에는
마이크 줘봐.
결국에는
Be ruthless.
호비랑 태영이 아닌가?
맞아. 태영이도 이번에 너무
맞아.
초반부터 너무 잘해.
맞아.
초반부터 너무 잘해줬고.
맞아.
초반부터 너무 잘해줬고.
태영이 되게 잘했어요.
예.
뭐 저는
Won't bother hiding my bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded, then it's your chance to be ruthless. Then it's your chance to be ruthless.
이 엘긴초가 진짜.
맞아, 근데 트랙이 한 칸에.
아 근데 이 노래 너무
이러면서 이번에.
근데 이 노래 너무
이러면서 이번에.
But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, maybe you'll get sick of being the monster out of my head, under my bed. Think you're something out of my nightmares, standing right there. But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, then will you get bored of killing me?
Silhouettes of you are
근데 이거는 가사 테마가
맛있는데요?
좋았어. 홀리건.
like a dawn. Never really know just what you want. With you I don't ever feel calm. I can feel the sweat inside my palms. Play with me like cats and a string. You don't understand the pain it brings. You don't ever wanna give me wings. You don't ever wanna set me free. You know I'm addicted to you, and it's twisted. You've been gifted with the evil voodoo. Got me coming back for more, even when I've been screwed. Dolls full of pins, pierce my heart straight through. I got issues in my head. I like you in my bed, but you keep me on. Got me coming back for more, even when I've been screwed. Dolls full of pins, pierce my heart straight through. I got issues in my head. I like you in my bed, but you keep me on red. Oh, everything is like a test. I better not text or I'll come off desperate.
정국이 울었잖아. 언제 울었지 나? 그 캐대현 보면서. 아 울었지.
나 그 영상
But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, maybe you'll get sick of being the monster out of my head, under my bed. Think you're something out of my nightmares,
봤어 그
왜 울어?
이러면서 울던데 너.
standing right there. But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, then will you get bored of killing me?
So if I play dead, will you regret everything that you did, that you said? I don't
정국이 울었잖아. 언제 울었지 나? 그 캐대현 보면서. 아 울었지.
나 영상 봤어 그
왜 울어?
think you understand what you're doing. And my heart's black and blue from the bruising. I feel like when I'm with you I'm losing. I feel like you think that this amusing. Sitting there gaslighting and confused.
노래가 앨범에 2개가 다 들어갔는데 전 사실 둘 다 반대했었거든요.
눈을 많이 안 됐어.
이 노래
그러셨죠?
나는 그렇게까지 찬성하진 않았어.
아니 나 되게 좋아했어.
그럼.
난 무조건이라고 했잖아요.
다행이다.
근데
Sin, was it me? Is it me? Am I deluded? I'm the one who's always sorry, the conclusion. Even though I offer all of the solutions, I wish you loved me like I love you, it's stupid. When I'm alone with you, I never feel lucid. I wish I wasn't struck by Cupid.
비하인드 웃긴 게 나 그 바로 옆방에 있었거든. 그 테이블 하나 만들어 놓고 그 녹음 우리가 여기 부스가 있고 녹음 부스가 있었잖아. 거기서 이제 혼자 기타 치면서 작업하고 있는데
계속 뚜뚜가 들려?
뚜만 진짜 한 6시간 들을 거예요. 그러니까
아이,
진짜
영상을 해야 되니까
이거를 나랑 형이랑 정국이랑
저 생각해보면 그때 세션 방에 저 정국, 태영 이렇게 3명이 있었고 이 비트가 계속 나오고 있어.
맞아.
저 스네어 때문에 정신 나갔어요.
빰빰빰빰빰.
I wish when I first saw you, I knew this. When I'm with you, I feel so useless. I feel diluted, my heart's been wounded. Silhouettes of you are like a taunt. Never really know just what you want. With you, I don't ever feel calm. I can feel the sweat inside my palms. Play with me like cats and a string. You don't understand the pain it brings. You don't ever wanna give me wings. You don't ever wanna set me free.
But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, maybe you'll get sick of being
나랑 형이랑 정국이랑
저 생각해보면 그때 세션 방에 저 정국.
out of my nightmares, standing right there. But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, then will you get bored of killing me? Then will you get bored of killing me? Then will you get bored of killing me?
정국이는
쓰면서
나 잠깐만 나갔다 오겠다고 바깥에서 자다가 목이
get bored of killing me?
근데 저도 이거
And will you get bored of killing me? And will you get
제가 애니멀이랑 뭐 이렇게 해가지고 몇 개 녹음을 하고 있었어요. 근데 다른 친구들이 이거 테스트 녹음을 하고 있었는데
그때구나.
제가 3개를 끝내는 동안 그 2명이서 계속 뚜뚜뚜뚜 계속 이러고 있는 거예요. 몇 시간 동안.
Up and down from across the room. Damn, what a hell of a view. I feel good, you look great. I like you, I can't wait. A first time.
찰스랑 하는데 가나다 카파 이런 거 하는 거.
아 맞아. 약간
이런 거 하는 거.
On a first date, you're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight. Don't waste time to my place. I feel my heart erase. So catch me if I.
태영이 또 한 칸 했지.
위식 소개 좀 해주시죠.
아 어떻게 뭐 타이틀에 이번 앨범의 마지막에 갑자기 들어가게 돼가지고
마지막에 이쁘게
아우트로로 너무
근데 이
좋아.
노래가 또 웃긴 건 태영 씨가 반대한 노래예요.
그래? 너가 써놓고 왜 너가?
그러니까 저는 제가 쓴 거는 쓴 거고 이게 앨범이랑 맞냐에
이게
또
있어, 완전
거기에서
맞아.
또 냉정하게 봐야 되니까.
아니 너무 잘.
왜냐면은 그것 말고도 제가 좋은 곡들 그리고 형들이 쓴 곡들이 너무나 많았고 좋았기 때문에 그건 이거
그 뭔데? 뭐야 이거 얘 이거 다. 뭐야 이거 얘 이거 다.
We like all the same tracks. Listen all night in the sheets all black. Said I'm falling fast. Don't remember life before you, that's fact. I feel good, you look great. I like you, I can't wait. A first time, a first date. You're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight. Don't waste time to my place. I feel my heart erase. So catch me if I fall.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away.
아니 나도 진짜 애들을 그때 보는 상태였는데 애들이 다 이만해져가지고 운동도 막 중량 나보다 막 10kg, 20kg 더 치고.
아니야 나
많이
지금
나지.
차이 나.
아, 8.
그래요 제가
If I still have you, I have purpose. It's all worth it.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. I guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away. As you fade away. As you fade away. I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray